The sun hung low over the deserts of Zalaris, casting long shadows across the jagged crystal formations that jutted from the ground like frozen lightning. Commander Rylan adjusted his armor, feeling the heat of the alien sun through the thin plating. Humans were rare on this planet. Most considered them fragile, weak, and ill-suited for the harsh conditions of Zalaris. But Rylan had faced worse worlds, worse enemies, and worse odds. And he knew the human spirit could endure more than anyone expected. He moved carefully across the sands, scanning the horizon. His mission was simple: deliver supplies to a Thrillian outpost and observe any signs of unrest. The Thrillians were proud, intelligent beings, with skin that shimmered faintly under sunlight and eyes that seemed to hold the depth of entire oceans. Their floating cities, made of translucent crystal, hovered above the ground, powered by technologies that humans were only beginning to understand. Rylan had been here before, but every visit reminded him how fragile human assumptions were in the face of such advanced civilizations. As he approached the outpost, Rylan noticed a commotion near the edge of the crystal city. A group of Thrillians had gathered, their gestures frantic and voices rising in a chorus of panic. At the center of the crowd lay a figure, smaller and more delicate than the warriors around her. Her skin, normally radiant and shimmering, was pale, almost translucent, and her breathing came in short, shallow bursts. The humans had never seen a Thrillian in such a state before. Rylan pushed through the crowd. "What's happening?" he asked, his voice steady but firm. "The Thrillians turned to him, their expressions a mixture of fear and hope. One of them, a tall female warrior named Vela, stepped forward. "The princess," she said, her voice trembling. "Princess Lysera is dying. Nothing we do can save her." Rylan's brow furrowed. He had heard of Princess Lysera, the heir too. The Thrillian Empire, known for her intelligence, courage, and dedication to her people. To see her like this was shocking. He knelt beside her, examining her condition. Her pulse was weak, her skin cold, and her eyes fluttered as if struggling to stay open. "Is there any cure?" he asked. Vela shook her head. "Our healers have tried everything. Our medicines, our energy treatments. Nothing works. The virus that attacks her blood is rare. We have no solution." Rylan studied the princess. The virus seemed to attack her life force directly, consuming it at a speed that was horrifyingly fast. He knew that in the time it would take for Thrillian medicine to work, she would be gone. He felt a strange, urgent pull. Something inside him whispered that he could help. Humans had a unique blood composition, one that had healed strange infections on other worlds. The thought was risky even, reckless, but he could not ignore it. He looked at Vela and the other Thrillians. "I can try," he said. His voice was calm, but inside his heart raced. "I can give her my blood." The room went silent. The Thrillians stared at him, their faces a mixture of horror and disbelief. "You would do that?" Vela asked. "It is dangerous. You could die." Rylan met her gaze steadily. "I've faced death before. If I can save her, it is worth the risk." The Thrillians murmured among themselves. Some called it madness, some called it heroic. Finally, an elder stepped forward. His eyes were wise and old, and his voice carried the weight of centuries. "If the human offers his blood, it is a decision he must make freely. We cannot interfere. But be warned, nothing like this has ever been attempted. The outcome is unknown." Rylan nodded. He felt the weight of the decision, but also a surge of determination. He rolled up his sleeve, revealing the strong veins beneath his skin. A Thrillian healer prepared the transfusion device, sleek and glowing with energy that pulsed like living light. The room was tense, every Thrillian holding their breath, every human watching from a distance, uncertain of what would happen as the process began. Rylan felt a strange warmth spread through his veins. The first connection was established, and a faint glow appeared at the point where his blood entered the princess's body. Her lips moved slightly and her eyelids flickered. Helen held his breath. Minutes passed like hours. Then slowly Lysera's color returned. Her eyes opened wider, brighter than before, and she took a deep, steady breath. The room erupted in quiet gasps of amazement. The Thrillian healers exchanged astonished glances. The impossible had happened. She was stabilizing, her strength returning at an unnatural speed. Rylan felt a strange connection, almost like a bridge forming between him and Lysera. He could sense her emotions, her fear, her relief, and in the other direction he felt a pull from her mind, a soft alien echo of thought and sensation. It was subtle at first, but undeniable. Vela stepped forward, awe in her eyes. "It is working, truly working." Lysera's voice, weak but clear, reached him. "You saved me." Rylan smiled, though exhaustion weighed on him. "We saved you," he said, "together." The bond, however, was not without consequences. Rylan felt a strain in his body, a twinge of weakness, as his energy transferred to Lysera, but it was manageable. What was more surprising was the psychic echo, the sense that he could almost understand her thoughts and feelings, and that she could glimpse fragments of his over the next few hours. Rylan stayed by her side, monitoring her recovery. He learned that the bond went deeper than he imagined. She could sense when he was tense, when he was in pain. Could sense her emotions, subtle and sharp, a mixture of fear, curiosity, and gratitude. Neither fully understood what was happening, but both knew it was extraordinary. As the sun set over the desert, casting a crimson glow across the crystals, the Thrillians began to whisper among themselves. This human warrior had done what none of their kind could. Not only had he saved the princess, but he had also opened a door to something new, something that challenged their understanding of life, of blood, and of the universe. That night, Rylan sat outside the Crystal City, gazing at the twin moons of Zalaris. He could still feel the connection with Lysera, faint but persistent, like a thread linking to worlds. It was a bond that went beyond species, beyond expectation, beyond imagination. The humans at the outpost watched him quietly, knowing that they were witnessing a moment that could change history. The Thrillians, once skeptical of human strength and courage, began to see another possibility. Maybe humans were not as fragile as they thought. Maybe humans could endure, survive, and even transcend in ways no one had predicted. And somewhere deep inside, Rylan felt a sense of anticipation. A feeling that the events of this day were only the beginning. Something larger was coming. Something that would test both human courage and Thrillian wisdom. The bond he had formed with Lysera was more than a lifeline. It was a bridge. And bridges, once built, could carry entire worlds toward the unimaginable. As the desert wind whispered across the crystal formations, Rylan knew that nothing would ever be the same. The princess had lived, yes, but in saving her, he had also awakened something new in both of them. Something powerful, something that hinted at the extraordinary potential of humans. The journey ahead would be dangerous, thrilling, and unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. And Rylan, the human warrior who had given his blood to save an alien princess, was ready to face it all. The sun rose over the floating crystal city, casting long beams of light that reflected like rivers of liquid silver across the desert sands. Commander Rylan had not slept. He sat quietly in a small chamber adjoining Princess Lysera's quarters, his mind restless. The events of the previous day weighed heavily on him. He had given his blood to save a dying alien princess, something no human or Thrillian had ever attempted before. And now, with her life restored, a strange bond connected them, pulsing faintly in his veins, urging him to understand its depth. Lysera stirred, opening her eyes slowly. They shimmered like polished gems, brighter than yesterday, reflecting both life and curiosity. Her first words were hesitant, almost fragile. "Rylan, can you hear me?" He nodded. "I can hear you. I can feel something else too, a connection." Her brow furrowed, confused, yet intrigued. "I feel it as well. It is like a thread between us. I can sense you, and yet not fully. It is strange, but comforting." Rylan offered a small smile. "Comforting, yes, but it also tells me we are linked in ways I do not fully understand. I feel your thoughts, your fear, even your memories sometimes. Are you feeling that too? Lysera nodded. Yes. Moments flash in my mind that are not mine. Your memories, perhaps? I do not know how it is possible. Their bond was new, strange, and untested. Yet, in its novelty, it offered clarity. Lysera could sense when Ryland's pulse raced, when his muscles tensed, and even the subtle changes in his emotions. In turn, could sense her alien instincts, her emotions, and the subtleties of Thrillian thought that no human should normally comprehend. Together, they formed an understanding that transcended species, one that promised trust and unity. Vela entered the chamber, her expression cautious yet respectful. Princess Lysera, the council has requested your presence. They are concerned about your recovery. They are unsure of the humans' intentions and the nature of this bond. Lysera sat up, adjusting to the strength returning to her body. I wish to meet them. I must understand. And I trust Ryland. He has saved my life. That is undeniable. Ryland rose as well, standing slightly behind her. His presence, strong and composed, seemed to calm the tension in the room. The bond between them, invisible yet potent, gave them both courage. The council chamber was a breathtaking sight. Floating platforms of crystal hovered in midair, arranged in a circular formation. Each council member radiated authority there, shimmering skin catching the light in a way that made them appear almost ethereal. When Lysera and Ryland entered, silence fell. The council's elder, an imposing figure named Orvion, spoke first. Princess, you are restored, yet the means are unprecedented. The human's blood. It is not only a cure but a link, something we do not understand. Why did you agree to this, Ryland? Do you not fear for your life? Ryland met Orvion's gaze steadily. I have faced death many times. This was a choice I made willingly. She needed help, and I could provide it. The risk was mine to take. Murmur passed through the council. Some members whispered about human recklessness. Others whispered about courage. Kura raised her hand, silencing them. The human speaks truthfully, she said. Commander Ryland acted without hesitation. To save me? His blood cured what our greatest healers could not. And now, share a bond that cannot be undone. I trust him. The council exchanged uneasy glances. Bonds between species were rare, and none had ever involved life essence so intimately. Some feared contamination, others feared the unknown consequences. Yet a few council members, intrigued by the possibilities, leaned forward. Princess Orvion said slowly, if what you say is true, this bond may have unforeseen consequences. It could affect not only your health, but your mind, your decision-making. And what of the human? Are his thoughts, emotions, and memories not being affected as well? Ryland nodded. Yes, I feel her thoughts, her instincts, her emotions, and she feels mine. It is a connection, not a threat. We both retain our identities, but we can sense each other in ways that allow understanding and cooperation. It is extraordinary. One council member, a young Thrillian named Talira, leaned forward with curiosity. Extraordinary indeed. Perhaps humans have hidden strengths we have underestimated. Perhaps your blood contains potential we cannot fathom. The council deliberated long into the morning. Some feared what the bond might mean, while others marveled at the possibilities. Finally, Orvion spoke. Very well, we shall observe this bond, and we shall protect it. But understand this while you, Princess Lysera, have been restored. The galaxy is not idle. Forces beyond Zolaris may take interest in this miracle. The human's blood may draw attention. Attention can bring danger. Ryland absorbed the warning. He had always known that helping the princess would carry risk, but he had not anticipated the political implications. Lysera's recovery could inspire hope, yes, but it could also provoke envy, suspicion, or outright aggression, he had seen. Enough of the galaxy to know that miracles were often targeted by those who feared or coveted them. As the council session ended, Lysera turned to him. Ryland, I feel stronger now, yet I also feel more your presence, your thoughts, they linger. It is not uncomfortable, but strange. I sense danger. Perhaps not here, but coming. He nodded gravely. You are right. The bond amplifies your instincts, your senses. It also alerts me. We are connected in more ways than I imagined, and the galaxy is never quiet for long. Over the next few days, Lysera's strength returned fully. She trained lightly, her movements graceful and sharp, and Rylon observed, marveling at her resilience. The bond allowed them to communicate silently at times, sharing thoughts without words, understanding each other's intentions instinctively. What had started as a desperate act of survival was transforming into a partnership, one that bridged the divide between human and Thrillian in ways neither could have foreseen. Outside the city, scouts reported unusual activity on the borders of Zolaris. Strange ships, unfamiliar designs, and unusual energy readings hinted at visitors, invaders approaching. Rylan studied the reports carefully. He had fought aliens before, but something about these readings felt different, calculated, intentional. Lysera noticed his concern. "What troubles you?" she asked, her voice calm but firm. "Unfamiliar ships," Rylan replied. "Their energy signatures are unusual. I suspect they are not here for diplomacy. Perhaps they have learned of your recovery. Perhaps they seek the bond itself." She frowned. "The bond. You mean what happened between us?" He said, "It is unprecedented. Your recovery is extraordinary. It is tied to my blood. There may be those who want to understand it, control it, or exploit it. We must be cautious." Lysera considered this, then nodded. "We will prepare, but I am not afraid. With you here I feel stronger. The bond itself gives me courage. Courage, I have learned, is a weapon in itself." Ryland smiled faintly. "Indeed, and humans have a way of surprising even the most advanced civilizations. I have no doubt we will face what comes together." Over the next week, Ryland trained alongside Thrillian warriors. His human strength, agility, and combat instincts complemented their advanced technology and psychic abilities. The bond with Lysera gave him insight into Thrillian movements, allowing them to anticipate enemy strategies in ways that no ordinary warrior could. The Thrillians, once skeptical of humans, began to respect him. They saw that humans were not fragile, not weak, and not limited by their biology. They saw potential and a hint of something extraordinary. Meanwhile, Lysera explored the limits of the bond. She could sense Ryland's fatigue, his tension, and even his subtle emotions. She found she could react faster in combat simulations, almost predicting his actions and understanding strategies before they were executed. The connection enhanced her abilities, but it also created a profound trust. They knew each other instinctively. Instinct in battle was often the difference between victory and defeat. As the days passed, a subtle tension built in the air. Scouts reported more ships approaching, and unusual energy readings suggested that the intruders were scanning the city carefully, studying patterns and searching for something. Rylan and Lysera realized that their miraculous bond was no longer just a personal matter, it was a beacon. And beacons attract attention, sometimes unwanted. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the desert, Lysera approached Rylan. "Do you think they will come for us?" she asked quietly, her eyes reflecting the pale moonlight. "I do," he said. "But we will be ready. Humans have survived against impossible odds before. And now we are not alone. We are connected." The bond between them pulsed faintly, a reminder of the life they had saved, the strength they now shared, and the challenges ahead. The galaxy, vast and unpredictable, would test them in ways they could not yet imagine. But for the first time, Ryland felt something that he rarely allowed himself hope. Not just for survival, but for something greater. For a future where humans could stand shoulder to shoulder with the galaxy's greatest civilizations, not as weaklings, but as equals. And somewhere deep inside, both Rylan and Lysera knew that their journey was only beginning. The bond was more than a lifeline, it was a bridge, a promise, and a weapon. And the universe, as vast and mysterious as it was, would soon learn that humans were not merely survivors. They were something more. The desert wind carried a chill that evening, unusual for Zolaris. Whispering over the jagged crystal spires that stretched toward the twin moons, Commander Ryland stood on a high platform overlooking the city, his eyes scanning the horizon. Energy readings from the approaching ships had intensified, glowing with unfamiliar patterns, signaling not just visitors, but predators. His hand rested on the hilt of his weapon, and for the first time since arriving on Zaloris, felt the sharp edge of true urgency. Lysera joined him, her steps light but purposeful. The bond between them pulsed faintly, synchronizing their heartbeats in a way that was subtle but reassuring. "You feel it too," she said softly. "The movement, the approach." Ryland nodded. "Yes, they are coming, and they know about us, about the bond. I am certain of it." Lysera frowned. "The bond. It saved me, and it is strong. But if they seek it, what will happen?" "We do what humans have always done," Ryland replied. "We fight. We survive. Together." The first ships appeared on the horizon as streaks of silver, descending rapidly, their energy signatures sharp and aggressive. The Voran Raiders, a ruthless faction known across several star systems for plundering and exploiting weaker civilizations, had arrived. Their ships hovered ominously above the desert plains. Scanning for life, scanning for weakness, Ryland signaled to the Thrillian warriors stationed on the city's edges. "Prepare for defense. They are not here for trade or diplomacy. Expect hostility." Lysera stepped forward, feeling the bond strengthen. She could sense the tension in Ryland's muscles, the sharp alertness in his mind, and it amplified her own instincts. As she focused, a new awareness emerged she could feel. The flow of energy from the ships, their patterns, their possible maneuvers. It was subtle, not precise, but enough to give them an edge. The Voran ships landed with thunderous energy, shaking the desert sands. Raiders in dark armor poured out, weapons shimmering with alien energy, designed to incapacitate, overwhelm, and destroy. Ryland assessed the situation quickly. They were heavily armed, but slow, predictable in their initial movements. He whispered instructions to Lysera, their thoughts intertwining effortlessly through the bond. "Lead the flank," he thought. "I will cover the rear. Focus on their weapons. Their energy fields are strong, but we can bypass them." Lysera understood immediately, her body moving with grace and precision. She launched forward, her Thrillian agility enhanced by the bond. She dodged energy blasts that would have killed most warriors, striking with speed that left the Voran momentarily stunned. Each move she made carried a hint of Ryland's tactical intuition, a human mind guiding alien reflexes. Ryland moved through the battlefield like a force of nature. His human instincts, honed through years of combat, allowed him to predict enemy strikes, react with unerring accuracy, and exploit weaknesses in the Voran formation. The Threllians watched in awe. Realizing that humans were more than fragile flesh and bone, they were adaptable, fearless, and relentless. The bond between Ryland and Lysera became their greatest weapon. They moved as one, anticipating each other's thoughts, each strike, each dodge. Energy blasts whizzed past them, but neither faltered. The bond amplified their awareness, allowing them to coordinate in ways that no ordinary allies could. Amid the chaos, Lysera noticed something troubling. One of the lead Voran raiders, larger and more imposing than the others, carried a device that pulsed with a rhythm strikingly similar to the energy readings they had observed earlier. It was scanning, probing, searching for the bond. "They know," she whispered through the bond. "They know we are connected." Ryland's jaw tightened. "Then we must protect it at all costs. Focus on the leader. If we neutralize him, the rest will falter." They converged on the Voran leader, moving with synchronized precision. Lysera struck first, using her Thrillian agility to disarm his energy shield. Ryland followed, his human strength shattering the leader's weapon and throwing him off balance. The Voran hesitated, confused by the seamless coordination of their attacks. For the first time, the Thrillian warriors saw human courage and ingenuity in action. Where they might have relied solely on advanced technology or psychic abilities, Rylan used intuition, adaptability, and sheer willpower. He exploited the smallest gaps, turned the enemy's strength against them, and inspired the Thrillians to follow his lead. As the leader fell, the Vorin forces wavered. Confusion spread among them, and Rylan pressed the advantage, moving quickly to disrupt their formation. Lysera, guided by the bond, struck with renewed energy, disabling key weapons and protecting civilians caught in the crossfire. Together, they became a force that the Vorin had never anticipated, a human warrior and an alien princess linked by courage, trust, and something far beyond simple combat. Despite their success, Rylan knew the battle was far from over. More Vorin ships could be on the way, and the technology they sought, the human blood bond, was still vulnerable. He communicated silently with Lysera, coordinating their next moves. "We need to find cover," he thought. "The city can withstand attacks, but we cannot let them study the bond. We must move strategically, protect the civilians, and buy time." Lysera nodded through the bond, her instincts guiding her to the city's protective zones. Swiftly, using the terrain, the crystals, and the city's advanced defenses to their advantage, energy shields flared around them, repelling blasts, while Rylan and Lysera struck with precision, dismantling raider squads before they could regroup. As the battle raged, something unexpected happened. The bond began to evolve, Lysera found. She could sense more than just Rylan's thoughts. She could feel his intentions, anticipate his moves before he made them, and even tap into his emotions to fuel her own strength. Rylan, in turn, sensed her alien instincts more deeply, understanding her reflexes and strategies in a way that allowed him to fight faster and quicker and adapt instantly. The Vorin leader's second-in-command noticed this unusual coordination and realized that the human and princess were linked. He tried to target them with a focused energy blast, aiming to sever the connection. But Rylan and Lysera, moving as one, dodged effortlessly and counterattacked with a precision that left the Vorin reeling, seeing their advantage slipping. The Vorin tried to retreat, but the city's defenses, guided by Rylan's strategic input, cut off their escape. Energy barriers, traps, and coordinated strikes forced the invaders to scatter or surrender. By dawn, the battle was over. The desert was littered with disabled ships and retreating raiders, their plans foiled by a human and a princess working as one. The Thrillian Council convened immediately. They were astonished. Reports of the battle reached them in real time, and the story of Rylan's bravery and the bond with Lysera spread quickly. For the first time, many Thrillians began to see humans as more than fragile outsiders. They were survivors, warriors, and partners in ways that defied expectations. Orvian addressed the council. "This human has demonstrated courage, ingenuity, and skill beyond what we believed possible. And the bond with Princess Lysera, it is no longer merely a personal matter. It is a force, a strength, that could change the way we view humans entirely." Lysera stepped forward, her aura bright with life and energy. "Commander Rylan saved me. Yes, but together we saved our people. We moved as one, guided by trust, by instinct, and by understanding. Humans are not fragile. They are resilient, adaptable, and extraordinary." Rylan allowed himself a rare smile. "We fought together. We survived together. That is what humans do. That is what any brave warrior does." The council debated what to do next. Vorin had retreated, but the threat remained. They could strike again, perhaps with greater force, drawn by the promise of the bond. Orvian made the decision. They would strengthen the city's defenses, train their warriors alongside Rylan, and study the bond carefully to understand its potential. As the council concluded, Rylan and Lysera stepped outside. The twin moons reflected off the desert crystals, painting the sands in silver and blue. The bond between them pulsed gently, a reminder of what they had faced, what they had survived, and what they had yet to encounter. Lysera turned to him. "Do you think it will happen again? Will they return?" "Yes," he said simply. "But we are ready, and now. We are more than just allies. We are partners. The galaxy is going to learn that humans are not to be underestimated." smiled, a mixture of relief and determination. Right. Then let them come. Together, we are stronger than they could ever imagine. As the first light of dawn crept over Zalaris, Rylan felt a sense of resolve. The Vorin had underestimated them. They had underestimated humans. And now, with the bond as their guide, he knew they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The universe was vast, unpredictable, and dangerous. But it had also revealed the extraordinary potential of humans courageous, adaptable, and capable of achievements that defied imagination. The desert wind carried the whispers of the past nights. Battle across the crystal spires. Survivors tended their wounded, while others repaired defenses. And somewhere deep in the heart of the city, the bond between a human warrior and an alien princess continued to grow. A silent promise that together they could overcome anything. Rylan looked at Lysera, their connection humming faintly. "We've won this battle," he said. "But the war is only beginning. The galaxy is bigger than we know, and it will test us." The Crystal City was quiet after the battle, but the air hummed with tension. Commander Rylan stood on a high balcony overlooking the desert plains of Zalaris. The Vorin raiders had retreated, but their presence had left a mark, a warning that threats lurked beyond the horizon, and that the bond between him and Princess Lysera was now a target. He could feel the bond pulsing faintly, a reminder of the extraordinary connection they shared, a thread of life, trust, power that linked them across species. Lysera joined him, her eyes reflecting the pale light of the moons. She moved gracefully, her steps assured and calm, but there was a fire in her gaze that had not been there before. The bond had changed her. It was no longer simply a link of life. It was a source of strength, intuition, and awareness. She could sense danger before it arrived, feel intentions before they were acted upon, and understand Rylan's thoughts with clarity. "They will come back," she said softly, her voice steady but carrying an edge of concern. "The Vorin will not forget. They have seen what we are capable of, and they will return, stronger, smarter, and more ruthless." Rylan nodded. "I know, but we are ready. The bond has given us an edge. We understand each other in ways no one else can. We have survived before, and we will survive again. We just need to push further, understand the bond completely, and use it to its fullest." Over the next several days, they worked together, exploring the depths of the bond. Lysera discovered that she could tap into Rylan's memories, sensing the experiences that had shaped him, the battles he had fought, and the strategies he had used to survive impossible odds. Each memory offered lessons, guiding her movements, her decisions, and her perception of the world around her. Rylan, in turn, found that he could sense Lysera's instincts. Her alien perception of time, space, and energy he could anticipate her actions before she made them, and together they moved with a precision that no human or Thrillian had ever experienced. Their coordination became seamless, instinctual, and astonishingly effective. The bond was evolving, growing beyond their initial understanding. One afternoon, as they trained on the outer platform of the city, a sudden surge of energy pulsed through them. Lysera instinctively reached out, and Rylan felt it as a wave of power flowing from her body. The Lenta bond was no longer passive, it was active, influencing their strength, their awareness, and even their perception of reality. "What is happening?" Lysera asked, her eyes wide as she struggled to control the new sensation. "I'm not sure," Rylan admitted, "but I feel it too. It's like our connection is alive. It responds to danger, to emotion, to intent. It's amplifying us physically, mentally, and maybe even more." They tested the bond cautiously. Lysera focused on sensing distant objects, the flow of energy across the city, and even the presence of life on the desert plains. She could feel movements, detect faint energy traces, and predict changes in the environment. Rylan discovered that he could influence her awareness, guiding her senses, and enhancing her abilities. Together, they became a force that exceeded normal limits, humans and Thrillians acting as one, bound not just by trust, but by life itself. Their training was interrupted by a warning from the city's scouts. A new fleet had appeared on the horizon, larger and more organized than the Voran ships they had faced before. This fleet was equipped with advanced energy weapons, faster ships, and precise targeting systems. Rylan and Lysera knew immediately that these were not mere raiders. They were professional hunters, seeking something specific, something connected to the bond that now linked them. "We need a plan," Rylan said, scanning the approaching ships. "This is not just a fight, it's a test. They want to study the bond, control it, maybe even harness it. If we fail, the consequences could be catastrophic." Lysera nodded. "Then we must strike first. We cannot wait for them to dictate the battle. We have an advantage: they do not understand the bond. They do not know how it works or how powerful it can be." They gathered the Thrillian warriors, explaining the situation without revealing all the details of the bond. Rylan coordinated, with the city's defense systems guiding the positioning of energy barriers, automated turrets, and strategic formations. Lysera led the front lines, her enhanced agility and awareness making her nearly untouchable. When the enemy fleet descended, the battle began with a thunderous roar. Energy beams cut through the sky, striking the desert and rebounding off the Crystal City's shields. The enemy moved with precision, but they were cautious, aware that their prey was not ordinary. Rylan and Lysera acted as one, anticipating attacks, redirecting defenses, and striking with deadly accuracy. The bond had reached a new level. Lysera discovered that she could extend her perception beyond the immediate battlefield, sensing movements of ships before they arrived, detecting weak points in enemy formations, and even predicting the trajectory of incoming attacks. Rylan guided her, focusing her awareness, coordinating their strikes, and using his combat experience to turn the tide. Together, they unleashed a series of maneuvers that stunned their enemies. Lysera moved through the battlefield like a phantom, disabling weapons, protecting civilians, and striking at critical targets. Rylan moved with calculated force, exploiting openings, coordinating with Thrillian warriors, and neutralizing threats that would have overwhelmed any ordinary defenders. Amid the chaos, the bond revealed another capability. Lysera felt a surge of energy emanating from Rylan, a force that seemed to strengthen her attacks, enhance her speed, and heighten her reflexes. Rylan, sensing the same effect, realized that the bond could transfer not just awareness and intuition, but actual physical strength and resilience. Together, they became a single unit, their combined abilities surpassing anything either species could achieve alone. The enemy fleet, realizing that conventional attacks were failing, attempted a concentrated strike at the city's core. And Lysera anticipated the move, their bond alerting them to the threat before it fully materialized. They coordinated a counterattack using the city's defenses, their own abilities, and the bond's amplification to deflect the strike and disable the lead ships. As the battle raged, Lysera discovered that she could influence energy flows, manipulating the Crystal City's defensive systems with a precision that mirrored Rylan's tactical thinking. The bond allowed her to merge human ingenuity with Thrillian technology, creating a synergy that neither species had ever experienced. The enemy began to falter. Their formations broke, their attacks became disorganized, and their leaders were overwhelmed by the unpredictable coordination of the human and Thrillian forces. Rylan and Lysera moved through the battlefield, dismantling their plans, striking key targets, protecting their people. By the time the sun rose over Zalaris, the enemy fleet had retreated, leaving behind damaged ships and defeated soldiers. The city had sustained minimal damage, and the civilians had survived, largely due to the bond's amplification of Lysera's perception and Rylan's tactical command. In the aftermath, the Thrillian Council convened once more. Orvian the Elder spoke with a mixture of awe and caution. This human and the bond he shares with Princess Lysera? It is more than we imagined. It is not merely a link of life, it is a force, a power that can influence perception, coordination, and perhaps even reality itself. Lysera stepped forward, her aura radiant with energy. We have survived because we trusted each other, because we moved as one. The bond is not a weapon to control, but a connection that amplifies understanding, courage, and strength. Humans are capable of greatness, yes, but together we are unstoppable. Rylan allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction. They had faced overwhelming odds and survived. They had discovered the true potential of the bond, and they had proven that human ingenuity, courage, and adaptability could stand alongside the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. Yet even as they celebrated, both Rylan and Lysera understood that this was only the beginning. The bond was powerful, but it was also a target the galaxy would notice, and other factions would seek to exploit, study, or control it. They would have to be ready, not just to survive, but to defend the extraordinary connection that now defined them. In the quiet of the evening, Rylan and Lysera stood together on the balcony once more. The bond pulsed faintly, a steady rhythm that reminded them of their shared experiences, their trust, and the strength they had discovered within themselves and each other. "Do you feel it?" Lysera asked, her voice soft. "I do," Rylan replied. "The bond?
Right.
It is more than we imagined. It has changed us, strengthened us, and shown us what humans and Threllians can achieve together. But it is also a responsibility. We must protect it, understand it, and use it wisely." Lysera nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon where the remnants of the enemy fleet had disappeared. "Then we prepare, together, and we will face whatever comes next. No matter the challenge, no matter the danger, we will endure. We will triumph. We will survive, because we are connected, and that connection is stronger than anything the galaxy can throw at us." The twin moons reflected off the crystals, painting the city in hues of silver and blue. The bond pulsed between them, a silent promise, a source of strength, and a reminder that humans were not just survivors, they were extraordinary. And as the wind whispered across the desert, carrying with it the echoes of battles, won and challenging, the desert of Zolaris glimmered beneath the rising twin suns, painting the crystal city in brilliant shades of gold and silver. Commander Rylan stood beside Princess Lysera at the highest platform, surveying the horizon. The attacks from the foreign raiders had ceased for now, but their presence lingered like a shadow. Both knew it was only a matter of time before greater threats arose. Drawn by the miraculous bond that linked them, Lysera turned to him, her eyes reflecting determination. "Rylan, we have faced so much already. But now I feel it more strongly. The bond, it is alive. It grows, and I think it is ready for whatever comes next." Rylan's gaze hardened. "Yes, we've learned its limits and its strengths, and we've learned our own. Humans are survivors, Lysera. We adapt, we fight, we endure. But now we are more than that. Together, we are unstoppable." The warning signals came suddenly, a fleet of ships, unlike any they had seen before, vast and dark, emerging over the horizon. Their energy signatures were immense, radiating power and intelligence. These were not raiders or hunters, they were a coordinated armada, a force that commanded respect and fear. Their purpose was clear. They had come for the bond. Rylan turned to the Threllian Council, which had gathered quickly. "Prepare every defense. This is no ordinary battle. We are facing an enemy that knows nothing about us, yet they will try. To exploit the bond, we must act carefully and decisively." Lysera felt the bond surge in response, sensing the fleet's movements, detecting subtle changes in energy patterns, and predicting the sequence of their attacks. She could feel Rylan's thoughts, his strategies forming before he spoke, and their coordination became instinctual. They were no longer two separate beings. They moved, thought, reacted as one. As the enemy fleet descended, the city's defenses activated with unprecedented precision. Energy shields flared, automated turrets fired in synchronized waves, and Threllian warriors took strategic positions. But the invading armada was unlike anything they had faced before. Their ships moved with uncanny coordination, firing energy beams that sliced through shields and deploying units designed to disable defenses quickly. Rylan assessed the battlefield swiftly. "Lysera, we divide and control. I'll lead the counterattack on the left flank. You handle the right and protect the civilians. The bond will guide us. Lysera nodded, feeling the bond amplify her strength, speed, and perception. Moved, she could sense every attack before it happened, every maneuver before it was executed, and every threat before it reached its target. Rylan in turn anticipated her movements, coordinating his strikes with lethal precision. The bond had evolved further. Lysera discovered she could not only sense and react but influence the flow of energy around them. Crystals in the city vibrated. At her command, redirecting beams, strengthening shields, and creating barriers that seemed impossible. Rylan channeled his human intuition into these actions, devising strategies that turned the battlefield into a dynamic, ever-changing fortress. Enemy units attempted to breach the city's core, where civilians were concentrated. Lysera intercepted, them moving with a grace and speed that left the invaders stunned. Energy blasts deflected harmlessly, while her strikes dismantled advanced alien weapons. She could feel Rylan's presence guiding her every step, and their coordination became almost telepathic. Each aware of the other's intentions without words, Rylan moved with precision on the left flank, targeting the enemy commanders and disrupting their formations. His human ingenuity allowed him to exploit weaknesses the invaders had not anticipated. Where the enemy relied on raw power and technology, he used strategy, adaptation, and courage. He inspired the Thrillian warriors to act beyond their limitations, combining their advanced skills with human resourcefulness. The enemy armada, realizing their initial tactics were failing, escalated the attack. Massive energy cannons focused on the city's defensive nodes, intending to break through in a single strike. Lysera, sensing the concentrated threat through the bond, reacted instantly. She directed the energy from the city's crystal spires to form a protective lattice, redirecting the force and absorbing the impact. The city trembled, but it held. Rylan exploited the enemy's distraction, moving swiftly to disable critical ships and disrupt their command chain. He anticipated their maneuvers using intuition and experience to outthink them at every turn. Lysera, guided by the bond, protected the civilians and neutralized threats that would have overwhelmed any ordinary defenders. As the battle reached its climax, the bond revealed its ultimate potential. Lysera felt a surge of energy flowing through both of them, a current that strengthened their bodies, heightened their senses, and enhanced their abilities beyond known limits. The city itself seemed to respond, crystals resonating with their connection, amplifying attacks and defenses in perfect harmony. The enemy fleet faltered. Their formations broke, ships collided, and commanders were incapacitated by the coordinated strikes of Rylan and Lysera. The bond allowed them to predict attacks, counter strategies, and exploit weaknesses faster than the invaders could adapt. What began as a desperate defense transformed into an overwhelming counteroffensive. Finally, the lead ship of the Armada attempted a concentrated strike on the city's central tower. Rylan and Lysera acted as one, moving with impossible speed. Lysera extended the energy lattice from the crystals, while Rylan directed a focused attack on the ship's core. In a brilliant flash of light, the strike deflected the enemy's energy and disabled their vessel. The remaining fleet, seeing their leaders defeated and their forces scattered, retreated into the distance, leaving the city intact. The battlefield was silent, but for the hum of the Crystal City. Rylan and Lysera stood together, breathing heavily, but unbroken. The bond pulsed between them, a living connection that had protected, guided, and strengthened them beyond imagination. The Thrillian Council convened once more. Orvion spoke, his voice filled with awe. This human, and the bond with Princess Lysera. It is beyond anything we have witnessed. It is not merely a link of life. It is a force that changes the course of battles, inspires warriors, and redefines what is possible. Humans are extraordinary, not weak, not fragile, but capable of greatness beyond measure. Lysera stepped forward, her aura radiant. We have survived. Yes, we have done more than survive. We have proven that courage, trust, and connection can surpass even the greatest technologies and the fiercest enemies. Humans are not merely survivors. They are warriors, thinkers, and partners, in ways the galaxy has yet to understand.
8.
Rylan allowed himself a rare smile. We fought together. We protected our people. And we discovered that humans are not limited by biology or circumstance. They are limited only by imagination and courage. Together, we are capable of anything. The city began repairing itself, energy surges flowing through the crystal structures. As Thrillian engineers and civilians worked side by side, the bond remained active, a living reminder of the strength they shared, and a symbol of hope for the entire civilization. Lysera approached Rylan as the twin suns rose higher, bathing the desert in light. "Do you feel it?" she asked, a smile playing across her lips. "I do," he replied. "The bond is more than survival, more than power. It is understanding, trust, and courage. But it is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast, full of unknowns. But we are ready. Humans have always faced the impossible, and now we face it together." They walked across the crystal platform, their steps in harmony. The bond between them pulsating like a heartbeat that stretched across species, civilizations, and the stars. The galaxy had seen the courage of a human warrior and the strength of an alien princess united by blood, trust, and purpose. And it would never underestimate humanity again. In the weeks that followed, Thrillians integrated humans into their defense systems, inspired by Rylan's courage and ingenuity. Training programs were established, combining human adaptability with Thrillian technology, forging a new generation of warriors who could think, act, and survive beyond conventional limits. Lysera and Rylan continued to explore the bond, discovering new abilities, understanding its depth, and using it to protect their people. The bond became a symbol not just of survival, but of unity, courage, and the extraordinary potential of humans. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the city, Lysera turned to Rylan. "The galaxy will test us again, won't it?" Rylan nodded yes, "and we will be ready. Because humans do not back down. We adapt, we fight, we survive. And now, we are more than that. We are capable of greatness. Together." Lysera smiled, her eyes reflecting the moons and the promise of the future. "Then let it come. Whatever challenges the galaxy sends, we will face them. Not as human and alien, not as princess and warrior, but as partners, connected, strong, unstoppable." And so, beneath the twin moons of Zaloris, the human warrior and the alien princess stood together, their bond alive, their strength unmatched, and their courage unshakable. The universe, vast and unpredictable, had witnessed something remarkable: the extraordinary potential of humanity. Amplified by trust, unity, and the courage to act beyond imagination, the galaxy would remember that it would never underestimate humans again.